Low calorie, 8 ingredient, cheap B-dubs at home. Stay tuned to find out. These are all the ingredients that you need. 2.5 pounds of chicken breast for $11, just a bit of MSG, just a bit of cornstarch, about a half gallon of peanut oil, a half cup of milk, some flour, a little bit of adobo, and your wing sauce. I got the spicy garlic sauce. You can get it at Walmart. It's like $2.50 a bottle. So let's get started. Okay, so the first order of business is going to be getting the peanut oil up to temperature. So I'm gonna set my pot to the hottest temp. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to pour oil in until I'm about as deep as the second knuckle on my index finger. That way I don't have excess oil that I'm wasting, but I also have enough to cover the chicken and prevent spill. And I want that to get to about 375. Take my thermometer here. Set it aside for now because I don't need it right this second. While that goes, I'm gonna start prepping my chicken. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. And I like the breasts, I like white meat. You can easily use dark meat. I'm pretty sure Buffalo Wild Wings uses dark meat, even for their boneless wings, but we're going for high protein, low calorie. What I wanna do is take the breast, chop it into about inch thick chunks, and cut those into little close to 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch cubes. If it's not exact, that's fine. Just as close to uniform size as possible, because when we cook these in this hot oil, we want to expect everything to cook at about the same speed. As you can see, I'm not being precise with these cuts, just around the same size. If there's a couple of them that are a little bigger, a little smaller, that's fine. Just don't want any that are super large because they won't cook completely through. When you're cutting chicken, especially raw chicken, having a good, heavy, sharp knife makes it really easy. Just being able to cut through in one go like that is not only easier, but safer. The more you have to saw and hack at it, the more likely you are to slip with the knife and potentially injure yourself. All right, now that we have the chicken cut up, we don't need the cutting board or the knife anymore. We're completely done with those. Now that we have the chicken cut up, we're going to put in between a half and full cup of milk. It's not precise because I just want enough to cover it. And once I've done that, I'm done with the milk. And I'll just let that sit there. Do a little bit of cleanup while we wait. Next, we'll prep our dredge. So I do my dredge shake and bake style, which is where I take everything I'm going to use for my dredge, I throw it into a big gallon Ziploc bag. One, it makes it easier to actually get the chicken all coated, and two, it keeps the mess contained. I know big restaurants use these big stainless steel bowls that allow for large batches, but frankly, I'm not using that big of a batch, and I don't want to have all the mess of flour and cornstarch and everything flying everywhere. Speaking of flour and cornstarch, I'm actually only going to do 2 cups of flour here and 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. The cornstarch makes the skin on the outside of the chicken wing much crispier. It'll also help it hold up and keep it from sogging when it's covered in sauce. Next, I use my little secret ingredient here, MSG. Just a little bit, monosodium glutamate. It is sorely misunderstood. It is a delicious ingredient, so feel free to add it. Finally, I'm gonna add something that a lot of the Latinas and Latinos in the crowd may recognize as adobo. This is a spice blend consisting of garlic, salt, pepper, and a couple other spices, and it is delicious on everything. Instead of salting and peppering, I'm just gonna use this. And it's nice to have this because it means you don't have to keep track, or you don't have to memorize exactly what you're putting into it. Just know you're using adobo. I probably put in about 1.5 tablespoons. Now I'm gonna shake this up. I'm gonna put in another 1/2 tablespoon. I love adobo. So, salting the dredge may seem pointless since you're covering it in wing sauce anyways, but with a salted seasoned dredge, it'll elevate your wings just a little more. Okay, everything's coming together pretty quick, so it's time to add the chicken little by little into the dredge, and then add it into the oil, and then start cooking it. So I'm getting in here with my bare hands. You're welcome to wear gloves. I really don't mind. I wash my hands well. I'll disinfect the counter. And having this dredge here will prevent a lot of splatter. So I'm just gonna add good 3 fistfuls. May seem like a lot to add all at once, but I kind of want big craggles forming inside of the flour mixture. Those big goopy craggles formed when you introduce a lot of liquid into the flour will stick to the chicken and make those big yummy crunchy bits that you get in something like B-dubs. I'm just gonna shake. Shake to incorporate. Shake it up. Make sure you get in there and separate them, because sometimes they'll clump together into big mega clumps, and then you'll have spots that aren't completely covered. You open it up and take a look. It should look like, yeah, like a bunch of well-coated, almost like donuts, like those little powdered donuts. All right, so at this point, you could absolutely just throw them into the oil. I'm going to put them out onto a tray just so that they are ready to all go all at once, so that I can rapid fire throw these in, something like this. This. The reason for the wire rack is that if there's any excess moisture, it don't just stew in it and get kind of goopy. That would turn this dredge into a batter, and that would give us a different texture on the wings. It wouldn't necessarily be bad, it just wouldn't be the texture that we're shooting for. That being said, you absolutely could batter these wings. Ultimately, they're your wings, do what you want. By the way, dredge that I keep talking about is just the flour mixture that you throw the wings in. And a lot of times people will show using an egg and milk wash and doing a dipping method. But honestly, just throwing the milk directly into the chicken like that, letting them sit for a second, and then throwing them into the dredge like this, I find that it sticks just fine. They still get nice and crispy, it sticks well, and then you don't have the mess and potential waste of an egg wash and everything to clean up. Another quick rinse. And you know how I took that cup of flour out earlier? I'm going to add it back in, because I can already tell you I'm going to need more flour than what's in there. I'm going to add in a full cup, close to a cup of flour, another healthy sprinkle of adobo, and about 2 more tablespoons of cornstarch. I was going to check my oil temperature again. I turned it down just a bit. I need to make sure it's not getting too cool in here. It's getting quite warm, actually. I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to throw the rest of the chicken in. 1 handful, 2 handfuls, 3 handfuls, 4 handfuls, and another. I can tell you right now, that's a lot of chicken in there. So I'm going to add, you guessed it, more flour. It's always easier to add flour in at the end than to have too much flour that you'll have to waste. Granted, you don't necessarily have to waste it, and after this I'll show you what I do if I do have some extra dredge left over. Another cup of flour, another tablespoon cornstarch, and shake. All right. It's dry enough in there that I can leave those for a bit. I'm gonna start cooking these ones here. Or the safest way I found to do it is take a solid spoon like this one and spoon them in. But honestly, I'm just gonna take them one by one, just throw them in. You can see they're bubbling pretty aggressively because I have the oil a little too hot. That's fine. We do want the oil pretty hot because you have one of 2 options here. Option 1 is to do it like this. Have the oil hot, 375, maybe even a little higher, and get them rolling, get them cooking immediately. Option 2 is to pre-fry them. Fry them at a low temperature, maybe like 300, just to get the outside set, and then freeze them. And you can freeze them for a week, sometimes longer. And when you're ready, you can take them out of the freezer, let them thaw, and then hit them with hot oil to finish them off. So this is why I only did it about as deep as my finger, because I want to have at least that much space above the pot to prevent bubble over. You can see it's rolling. And if there wasn't enough clearance on the side, or if there was too much oil in the pot, it would cause a big, dangerous mess. Hear that chicken going. While that rolls, I'm gonna bring this over and spread these out. I'm actually gonna transfer these into the bag, clean these off, and use them for the chicken. After about 3 minutes in the oil, the smallest ones are gonna start being ready to take out. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this back on, because I bet you we've dropped down below where we wanna be for our oil temp. Now, we were at around 440. We're down to about 350 now. So we're gonna bring that oil temperature back up because as you can hear, it's just simply not as hot as it was. For chunks of chicken this size, 3 to 5 minutes at 375 is about perfect. Perfectly cooked and decently well seasoned. That's why we use the adobo. You can see some of the larger ones, after the oil cooled off, they're more of a blonde color. It's because the oil wasn't as hot, so they didn't get cooked as hard or as fast. They're still cooked all the way through, they just have a different color, which is why you can't rely purely on color to tell if the chicken is ready or not. It all depends on the temperature you're cooking it at. I'm gonna check my oil temperature now that I just took all of them out. Looks like we're hovering around 360. I'm gonna let it get back up to 375, and then I'll throw the next batch in. Ready to add in the next batch of chicken. After adding in a bunch, I'm gonna give it a little agitation, make sure nothing sticks to the bottom. You don't want to overcrowd your oil. It increases the likelihood of a boil over, and it cools off your oil quite a bit, which can slow cooking time. All right, while I let that last batch go, I'm gonna show you real quick how I sauce them. Let me clean up some of this mess real quick. Also, for the extra dredge you have, don't throw it out. It's got beautiful craggles and chunks. So I'm going to take that and throw it directly in the freezer. And it'll be good in there for at least 2 weeks and up to a month. So I'm gonna take my favorite wing sauce. In this case, I'm gonna use spicy garlic, but you use whatever you like best. I'm gonna give it a good, healthy squirt right into this bowl where the wings are. Then just give it a toss. What you're left with is a delicious, basically B-dubs chicken wing. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Let me try one of them lemon peppers.